Hey everybody, welcome back. Part 17, beginning of day 4 of this build. Once again, I'm trying to get the camera to behave itself here, so I have to start it up this way and then tilt it that way apparently. So here we go. Put it back on my guitar stand camera tripod. Alright, so yesterday I was playing around with pickups. And we discovered that a humbucker's a humbucker, and a single coil's a single coil. The gold foil's not very loud. And I didn't try the P90s yet. And we found out if you put a pair of single coils in series, then this guy acts like the treble, and this guy acts like the bass. If you put them so that one's here and one's over here, kind of a thing, then yeah, you pick up the top two strings, the bottom two. You don't really pick up the middle ones enough to even hear them. So that kind of shoots that idea. In general, it looks like you want all the slugs to fall right underneath the strings themselves. So here, this pickup would want to go like that optimally. Whereas down here, it would be more like that kind of an angle. And let's see, other than that, I wanted to try the P90s. I wanted to try switching the phase on one of these guys by flipping around the positive and negative, see if that made any effect. Theoretically, if the two coils are in the identical location, both reading off of the same string at the same place, and they're out of phase with each other, then they should create perfectly canceling signals. Now when if you've got one up here and one down here kind of a thing, then they're not going to be feeding off the same signal at the same spot on the string. So, this one probably have more vibrations and this one less in whatever direction at any given point in time. That kind of an idea. Or one part of the string might be vibrating in one direction while the other's vibrating the other way. And then see if they're reverse wound instead of those two curves adding and canceling. Since they're going in opposite directions, they add and they actually stack up. So yeah, so this wouldn't necessarily cancel or anything of that nature, but I did want to see what it would do, if it has much of an effect, if any. I'm not so sure it will. As for wiring, I was thinking if I did go with a single coil at the neck and the bridge, I might wire it so that with a 5-way, you got a bridge only, you got a neck only, you got both in series like I was doing yesterday, and then you got both in parallel, which is your typical middle selector switch setting on a telly. So basically it would be like a telly with one extra setting, I guess position 4 or whatever, and that would put the two pickups in series instead of parallel. And then it was a question, well, what do you do with position 5? It was like, well, you could always put a tone on it, run everything through the tone except for position 5, which would just be like the bridge hot wired to the volume and then to the jack and bypassing the tone circuit altogether. Or you could do something like an Esquire with a pre-programmed single tone, big cap or something like that. Or you might do it with switching the phase, having these two guys wired plus to minus between them, come in the plus, go out the minus, go in the plus of the next one, go out the minus the next. And you say that was like your series for position 4. And then you might have position 5, same thing, but the lead swapped on the neck or something like that. So, yeah, I wanted to try the P90s. I wanted to try swapping a phase on these guys. And then I think I'm going to think about it a little bit more. I didn't come up with anything cool and new in the way of configurations, really, other than possibly just 2 single coils in series at the neck and bridge. It does sound a little better than either one alone, maybe. So, yeah, and it's going to be more humbuckerish sounding than a single coil at wait, hold on. It's going to be more. Yeah, it's going to be more humbucker sounding than like the middle setting on a telly, which would be 2 single coils in parallel. The 2 in parallel, you won't have the reluctance of the second coil messing with the high-end output of the first coil, no matter which way the juice is flowing. So you'll have more top end, but you don't get the higher volume of adding the 2 curves together. That the curves get averaged instead of added because they're in parallel and not in series. So yeah, these 2 guys in parallel is going to be brighter. These 2 guys in series are going to be louder, but not as bright. More bass, less treble. So let me slap some P90s in and let's try single coils out of phase. And then I think I'm going to think about it a little bit more. One of the possibilities is that some of these humbuckers, I think, have coil split. So I might, with a humbucker, as I recall, you can actually get 6 total voices, even though some of them might be identical. You can get, well, we got coil A, coil B, A and B in series, A and B in parallel, A and B in series with A reversed on polarity or phase, however you want to put it. A and B in parallel with A reversed in phase. And reversing A in phase or reversing B in phase should be the same difference. So series with 1 out of phase, either one, or parallel with 1 out of phase, or series with both in phase, series parallel with both in phase, coil A only, coil B only. And those are your 6 voices from a humbucker. So you could do coil A, coil B, A and B in series, A and B in parallel, A and B in series with one of them out of phase, and A and B in parallel with one of them out of phase. So once again, you can actually get 6 voices out of this thing. Well, let's see what some stuff sounds like here. Squeegee. This thing recording? Yeah, we're still on. Alright, so these are pickups in series, as I recall. It sounds like a set of pickups. Let's go parallel. Disconnect, positive, negative. Okay, parallel. We want both positives to go to red. We want both negatives to go to black. It's got it. Should probably glue this base plate back on this thing. Yep. Not as loud. Just a little bit chimier. Definitely not as loud. I suppose you could do the same thing with two humbuckers in parallel. If you put two humbuckers in series, then it would basically be a humbucker kind of sound, but it'd have even less treble. It'd be even louder, probably. So, but you don't necessarily need louder across the board, because that's really the amplifier's job, or the preamplifier's job, not the pickup's job. At least if you ask me. I mean, you know, there's all kinds of ways you can wire a circuit, so. But, you know, in general, you've got a input source at line level that goes to a preamp, which gives you a preamp out level, which is usually a little higher than line level, which then goes into a main amp circuit, which brings you out a speaker level output, and then you go into a speaker. Of course, nowadays they've got, you know, all kinds of things where you're going into a DAW or you're going into a PA or something like that. Yeah, try using a touch of feedback as part of your preferred tone when you're running through the PA system at a club. Man. It doesn't exactly work, you know. But anyway, so let's see, what am I going to do here? Okay, yeah, we're getting humbucker sounds like a humbucker. It seems to always turn out the same way, no matter how many times I play around with pickups. It's like everything's a humbucker or a single coil or somewhere between the two. And at the end of the day, you know, wiggling a wire around in a magnetic field and having a coil pick up the magnetic disturbances, there's only so many variations on that theme that can be executed. So it's not really surprising that I'm not, like, you know, making brand new discoveries here, unfortunately. It's always cool to discover something neat and new, but this looks like the same old tired old bullshit Leo's been dicking around with for 50 years. You know, pardon my French. Alright, so, phase. Maybe I should go back to series. So, phase, I want to swap these guys. Okay, there's phase. These guys are so far apart, it's probably not going to make a heck of a lot of difference. Well, it seems to kill the treble some. So I guess it's another voicing. Alright. So that gives us coil A, coil B, AB series, AB parallel, AB series, one of them flipped in phase, AB parallel, one of them flipped in phase. So that gives us 6 voices out of 2 coils. And I kind of like this, doing the humbucker at the neck and the bridge thing, because you get a humbucker type sound, but it's not, but you also get, you know, a lot of treble and a lot of bass because of where the actual coils are. So I kind of like that. If I don't use the right coils though, I don't get hum canceling. And I've actually got enough coils to make 2 pairs of hum cancelers, because I've got 2 North Pole coils in that Tilly pickguard. Strat pickguard. So I guess I could go with a... Sorry, I've got 2 souths. All the rest of my stuff's norths. Yeah, so I could go with like a north and a south here, kind of a thing. Or south and north, whichever. The hotter and the less hot. And then wire it up with A, B, series parallel, and then slap a phase switch on like the neck coil or something. One of the coils. Put a phase switch on it. And that way when you were in phase wouldn't really have an effect when you were on coil A or coil B. Even if the phase was on coil A and you were on coil A, swapping the phase wouldn't do anything, really. You're swapping the wires, but you're putting it out of phase with nothing else in the circuit to be out of phase with, so it doesn't really make a difference. It's simply out of phase of the way the circuit used to be wired. If you had 2 circuits running side by side kind of thing, they'd be out of phase with each other. So a phase switch on a single coil doesn't really do a whole heck of a lot. It's when you've got 2 of them combined together and you switch the phase on one of them that you start to get averaging instead of adding, or they, you know, they always average, but what it is that you're averaging a positive and 2 positive numbers, which comes up with to be some other positive number, and in the case of out of phase, you're averaging, you know, some positive number and perhaps some negative number, which results in reduced output. Some larger positive and some smaller negative number usually. And that's why you get that kind of nasally sound, is the frequencies are getting canceled. So yeah, so that's a distinct possibility, is setting it up with series parallel A, B, and then a phase switch for coil B. And I suppose I could do the same kind of thing with humbuckers and basically get double the same effect. You'd get the same effect, except you'd be doing it with humbuckers, so everything would be hum canceling out of the gate, and it would also be more bass and less treble out of the gate. So, and then you could also, you know, get into the 6 voices of each of the humbuckers. So there you would actually have, well, if you treated each humbucker as like a giant single coil, then between the 2 of them you'd get roughly 6 voices. And then out of treating each of them as a pair of single coils, out of each of them you should get another 6 voices. So that would be like 18 voices altogether or something like that. But that's a little on the crazy side. I've actually got the design for the X8, which I never built. It's basically an X4 that's got 3 humbuckers in it and can do coil split on any of the 3, either coil, any of the 3. It can reverse the phase between the coils in any or all of the 3 humbuckers. It can reverse the phase between the humbuckers themselves when you have multiple humbuckers in series or parallel. So you got phase for the individual coils on the humbuckers, plus you have phase for the whole humbucker versus the next humbucker. And then you can wire the humbuckers in series, or the individual coils in series, or you can wire the humbuckers in parallel, or the individual coils in parallel, and you get an insane number of voices. Oh, and then you take it all and you run it through an equalizer instead of a tone control. And yeah, so basically as hog wild as you can go on electronics with 3 pickups and every possible voicing option that you can get out of 3 humbuckers. So that's the X8, but I don't even know if I'm going to build that. It might just be overkill. I was thinking it might be interesting to start with just a single humbucker and implementing all 6 voices out of a single humbucker, because you're kind of getting the most mileage you can out of one of the simplest possible setups. The only thing that you could do even simpler would be using, a single humbucker and 6 voices is going to be the same as 2 single coils and 6 voices. So if you go as one single coil that's just in one location on the guitar, neck or bridge or whatever, then there's nothing to put it in series with. There's nothing to put it in parallel with. There's no other coil to listen to instead of that. So you lose your coil B, you lose your series, you lose your parallel. Swapping the phase against nothing else in the circuit does nothing. So one pickup, one single coil, and one location only gives you one voice. And that's it. And the only way you can really change that voice is by moving the pickup around. You can get more bass, more treble, more bass, more treble, that kind of thing. Then if you step it to 2 coils, all of a sudden you're up to 6 voices. So, I don't know. Let's put in some P90s and see what's up. P90s. These should have a very good flatter response curve than a traditional single coil, I believe is the way these are usually described. So they should perhaps be not quite as chimey. What's this one? This is a bridge here. They are single coils, no tap wire. Where are you going, Spot? Right there? No, you're going down. Yeah, so these should be less chiming and have more bottom end. Once again, should be kind of halfway between a humbucker and a pickup. I mean, a humbucker and a single coil, but in a good way, apparently. So. Yeah. Probably is a little brighter than a humbucker. Probably got a little more bottom end than a single coil. So yeah, more or less as advertised. I mean, I could swap them in and do A/B tests and stuff like that, and you hear more or less the same. You'd probably come to the same conclusions. So okay, yeah, so that's a P90. It's kind of like a more flatter response curve, kind of a single coil, which makes them a nice option, but these are actually already slated for a Les Paul build, so I think I'll save them for that. Now obviously I can, you know, get online and order up pretty much any pickup I want for this thing within reason. You know, if I wanted to put a $300 horseshoe magnet pickup on it, I could. If I wanted to put a Charlie Christian on it, they're only $60 a pop. I could put a set of original Fender Telecaster single coils on it for $100. Got a set of those on the way for the vintage build. Well, okay. So there's our phase and our P90s, and that pretty much covers it. At least for the stuff I got to play with here. Guess it's time to play Sherlock Holmes and smoke on it. So, I'll be back. I thought of something else to try. Where's the hot pickup? Okay, so the idea here is you're going to run them in series, like I had the two single coils, where I got nice brightness from this and I got nice bass from that. But we're going to put a humbucker here to get even more bass. And this basically, hopefully, we'll see if we can get like a neck humbucker warmth and bottom end, and then add in some of the chime of a single coil at the bridge. See what kind of a sound that gets us. This is the hottest humbucker, the 12 point whatever. And this is the hottest single coil, the 7 point whatever. And we're going to go in series. So we want to go, doesn't really matter, I guess. We'll go, hot will go to the single coil, and then the output of the single coil will go to the humbucker. Ground on the single coil goes to the humbucker. Input for hot, and then the ground on the humbucker is our negative for the pickup circuit. So that's our hot, that's our ground. And maybe we should swap these around. Air tape. Okay, hot, ground, nothing touching. Now what you got for me? Interesting. Get a little bit of spacer for that. This is too much. Yeah, a little too much. Not bad, actually. Let's see if you went. Okay, that's just the humbucker. This is with the single coil added. So, yeah, I think it does make it a little brighter. Very slightly. What if something hold on a sec. Let me tape all this up a little bit. Be right back. New idea. I did a video on moving the slopes to change the tone of the pickup. I was looking for something to bring it all up higher, but it's not under the wires, so that's not going to contribute to the sound. So we're here. And I'm thinking, if you jack up just the treble pole piece is kind of an idea. But that makes the treble louder, but that doesn't necessarily change doesn't make it brighter. It's almost like you need 6 little 1 coils and then adjust each one to get just the right amount of voice. And then that, but still that's, you know, that's no more control than a 6-band EQ, which everybody knows you need like a 10 or 12 if you really want to shape a curve, so. Okay, let's go back to this other idea. Let me find a spacer. The basic idea being you put a humbucker here, get that full rich humbucker sound that you get out of the neck, and then you can put in a little bit of bridge single coil in order to brighten it up and blend those 2 tones together to come up with the 3rd nicer tone. Maybe. So, yeah, let me find an appropriate size spacer. And this right here is why I do not like Fishman fluents. These guys come up with a great technology. They can probably sit down at their computer and say, yeah, we want this many Henrys on this string, this many Henrys on that string. Put one of their little assembly pickup thingies together and boom, pop it out just like that. Do they use all that advanced technology to do these kind of wonderful 21st century things? Hell no! They use all that technology to reproduce 50-year-old vintage bullshit. Alright, I'm done with my rant, so fuck Fishman, man. I'll be back. Okay, got this thing taped up. Found a spacer for this thing. It's up closer to where it ought to be on the strings. Now we want to add some more treble. There you go. Watch, I'll go through all this and I'll bust the lead off of this third pickup. Supposed to be in series, aren't they? Give me a sec. Allergy suck. Gotta blow my nose. Okay. Since neither of these really wants to stand up straight and behave itself, I'll put this just on the first two strings. That's awful loud. It's still just as loud. Two humbuckers. Let me try two humbuckers. Okay, I think what's going on here. Where's the 7? This thing's only like 7K. This thing's like 12, and that's the reason why putting this in here isn't having a big influence on the overall tone. And that's why I was thinking going humbucker, because, you know, this is around 12, put another one in that's around 12, and it ought to have more influence. But that's really going to be no different than going with a pair of single coils both around 7. And it doesn't matter whether they're both around 12, whether they got 2 or 1 coils, whether they're both around 7. What matters is that they're the same relative output, whereas that one is, you know, almost twice what these are. So I guess continue trying it with 2 singles or 2 humbuckers, either way. The only real issue being with the 2 singles, you've got to worry about RWRP if you want to get your noise canceling. So, well, let me think about it a little bit more. I think because humbuckers are more common than RWRP middle coil pickups for Strats, I'm going to use humbuckers for the tests. Because that way Yeah. Yeah, in general, if you can design stuff with more common parts, then that's a better design, because that makes it easier to build, easier to find the components to build it. So, yeah, let me switch to humbuckers. Okay, here we go. 2 humbuckers in series.